7:48 a.m. on a dreary Tuesday morning in Crestview, Ohio. Rain pelted the chipped windshield like pellets as mist curled along Highway 12. The interview that could alter everything was 13 minutes away. Ethan Marshall's rough hand shook as he adjusted his second-hand tie in the rearview mirror of his weathered SUV. He floored the gas, then hit the brakes hard. There, on the shoulder of the deserted road, stood a woman beside a $250,000 Mercedes with its rear tire completely mangled. Designer coat drenched. Polished nails smudged with dirt. She looked more out of place than any millionaire should in this quiet corner of America. Ethan's engine hummed. 13 minutes to his future. 12 minutes to being late. 11 minutes to losing his only chance at giving his son the life he deserved. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. "Son, you help people when they're down, no matter the cost." Ethan shut off the engine and grabbed the toolbox that still carried the scent of his mom's old cologne. He had no clue he was about to aid the one person who could shape or shatter his dreams. The woman glanced up as Ethan's boots crunched across the wet gravel, her eyes betraying a weariness born of burdens unseen. She was younger than he'd expected, maybe late 20s, with high-end clothes ill-suited for the weather. Her smile, when she saw him, was real enough to pierce the morning haze. "Car trouble?" Ethan asked, crouching beside the ruined tire, where the rim was warped and rubber torn beyond repair. "No idea what happened," she said, her voice tinged with a West Coast polish that felt foreign on this rural Ohio stretch. "One second I'm driving, the next I'm skidding onto the shoulder. I called roadside assistance, but they said it could be hours." She gestured helplessly at her sleek car as Ethan checked his watch, gut twisting as he pictured the HR manager at Sterling Industries jotting notes about tardiness in his file. 8:53 and counting. "What's your name?" he asked, loosening lug nuts with his mother's old wrench, its familiar heft tying him to years spent learning that fixing things was both craft and duty. "Lila," she said after a brief pause, one Ethan was too focused to catch. "Lila Bennett, you're either my savior or the last good soul in Ohio." Her nervous chuckle carried a gratitude unfamiliar to someone unaccustomed to relying on strangers, though her name felt practiced. Ethan worked steadily, muscle memory guiding his hands through motions done countless times as rain soaked his interview shirt. "Just Ethan. Ask my 10-year-old son about saviors. He'll list my flaws long enough to fill a notebook." Lila crouched beside him, watching with an interest that felt more than polite, as if she grasped the skill in a way her pristine nails shouldn't suggest. "Been fixing things since I could grip a tool," Ethan said, voice softening with memory. "Mom said every problem's got a fix if you're willing to roll up your sleeves." Within 25 minutes, Ethan had Lila's Mercedes roadworthy again, brushing off her offered cash with grease-stained hands because payment felt wrong, like it had cheapened something vital. "How can I repay you?" she asked, almost uneasy in her plush leather interior, as if seeing it anew through his eyes. "Pass it on," Ethan said simply, his mother's credo boiled down. "Help someone else when they need it." Lila nodded, as if catching a deeper truth in his words, her polished facade slipping to show someone craving genuine connection. As she prepared to drive off, she lowered her window with an intensity that made her next question feel weighty. "Ethan, the interview you missed, what was it for?" Something flashed across her face when he replied, "Supervisor role at Sterling Industries." Been aiming for it for years. A moment where her careful mask faltered, like she was processing unexpected news that shifted everything. Then she smiled and drove off, leaving Ethan alone as the rain slowed, wondering if his mother's advice about helping others was worth missing the biggest break of his life. Ethan drove home through streets grayer than usual, past Liam's middle school, past Dawson's garage, where his boss would demand answers he wasn't sure how to give. The mobile home park where he and Liam lived wasn't much, but it was tidy, safe, and theirs with Liam's blue bedroom and their small garden of peppers and zucchini and meat roasts. It wasn't the dream life he'd envisioned with Claire, but it was honest work and honest living built on love and the values his mother instilled about helping others. Liam was munching toast at their small kitchen table when Ethan walked in, his curly hair framing a face too wise for 10 years old. "How'd it go, Dad?" he asked with a cautious tone, ready for either triumph or letdown, having learned to spot the subtle signs of adult disappointment. When Ethan explained he'd skipped the interview to help someone in need, Liam nodded like it was the most natural thing. "Mom always said you'd give your last buck to a stranger," he said, not judging, just stating a truth only a kid who knew his dad's heart could. "You okay about the job?" Liam's question held a sensitivity honed since his mother's passing, attuned to his dad's worries in ways that aged him beyond his years. Ethan smiled, the first real one that morning. "We'll figure it out, Liam." "We always do," knowing it was true, even if the how was unclear. They'd survived Claire's illness, the bills, single fatherhood. They'd survive this too, because they had each other and the quiet pride of doing right, even at a cost. What Ethan didn't know was that Lila Bennett had pulled into Dawson's garage lot 20 minutes after leaving him, watching through rain-streaked windows as he went inside to explain to his boss why he'd missed the interview that could have changed everything. The woman who'd seemed so stranded beside her car was making a call that would reshape their lives. Her voice carried an authority that would have stunned the man who just helped her. Lila Bennett wasn't who she seemed. And Ethan Marshall had no idea he just aided the one person with the power to make or break his dreams. The next morning, Lila appeared at Dawson's garage while Ethan was elbow deep in a Toyota engine, transformed from yesterday's stranded driver into someone radiating quiet confidence. Gone with a soggy coat and helpless look, replaced by a tailored gray skirt and the poise of someone who knew their place. "Ethan," she said, her voice warmer, surer, carrying an authority absent on the highway. "Lila," Ethan replied, wiping greasy hands, suddenly aware of oil smudges and the stark contrast between them in the garage's harsh light. "What brings you back to our little slice of heaven?" His tone was warm but curious. Most people he helped didn't return. Something about her presence felt significant, though he couldn't pinpoint why. "Wanted to thank you properly." "Brought coffee," she said, holding cups from a pricey downtown shop he couldn't afford. The gesture was kind but hinted at resources clashing with yesterday's Lost Motorist Act. They sat on a bench outside, watching morning traffic creep through Crestview's 3 stoplights and handful of stubborn businesses that had weathered economic slumps through grit and loyalty. "I feel awful about yesterday," Lila said, her regrets seeming genuine but laced with something else, like she was testing his reaction to gauge his character. Ethan's reply was firm. "I made a choice. Nobody made me stop." His conviction was absolute. His mother taught him helping others was right, no matter the cost. "What if I told you Sterling Industries might give you another shot?" Lila asked, her cryptic smile making Ethan realize he knew nothing about her beyond a fancy car and a flat tire. When he pressed how she know anyone there, she replied vaguely, "Let's just say I have connections." Her eyes hinted at more than she let on. Ethan's suspicion was immediate, honest. "Nice story, but I live in a world where companies like Sterling don't give second chances to guys from mobile home parks who miss interviews to help strangers." The bitterness wasn't anger, just a grounded acceptance of limits learned through experience. "What if it could be different?" Lila asked softly, a vulnerability in her tone making Ethan study her closer, seeing someone weary of the world's usual ways. Before he could respond, Liam's school bus rumbled by, and Lila watched him wave with a longing, like someone craving a connection she'd never known. "That's Liam," Ethan said, voice thick with protectiveness. "My reason for everything." Lila's expression softened, revealing a loneliness from observing others' lives from the outside. Lila stood with the efficiency of someone with a packed schedule, but hesitated, as reluctant to break their fleeting bond. "If Sterling calls for another interview, would you go?" she asked, the question heavier than casual chat, like his answer mattered deeply. When Ethan said he would, her relief seemed outsized for a supposed stranger. "Take care, Ethan Marshall," she said, leaving before he could ask the questions piling up, making him feel this was a beginning, not an end. That afternoon, while Ethan was swapping spark plugs, his boss took a call, voice tinged with shock. "Sterling Industries wants you tomorrow morning. They're rescheduling." Ethan grabbed the phone, hands unsteady, hearing Karen Thompson's warm professionalism explain they understood he'd had car trouble that derailed yesterday's interview. The creative spin made him wonder what Lila had said, but he wasn't about to correct a story giving him this second chance. "Don't worry about yesterday," Karen said. "These things happen," her tone carrying a respect absent initially. That evening, Ethan helped Liam with science homework while interview clothes hung freshly ironed, the routine grounding him for tomorrow's stakes. "Nervous, Dad?" Liam asked, his 10-year-old insight catching Ethan off guard. "A bit," Ethan admitted. "But nervous means it's important," echoing Claire's words from early days when risks felt like adventures. Liam recited his mother's wisdom about courage with care, as if preserving sacred fragments. "Mom said courage is doing the right thing even when you're scared." "Would Mom have liked Lila?" Liam asked, his perceptiveness startling Ethan. "She was watching you wave at me from the bus and looked sad, like she wished someone waved at her." Ethan marveled at his son's ability to see to the heart of things. "Mom would have liked anyone who brought good into our lives," he said carefully. "Is Lila bringing good things?" Liam pressed. Ethan answered honestly, "Hope so, buddy. Really hope so." The next morning was crisp and clear, as if the skies aligned for Ethan's second chance. He dressed in sharp shirt and tie Liam deemed professional but cool. Sterling Industries' sleek Columbus office, with its glass facade and polished lobby, made Ethan tread carefully, a working-class habit in places he might not belong. The receptionist's warmth suggested his name was marked for attention. Karen Thompson appeared at 9 o'clock sharp, her stride valuing punctuality, guiding Ethan through a cubicle maze to a conference room where Mark Daniels waited with a third person who tilted Ethan's world. "Laura Sterling, Arzu," Karen announced as the woman turned, and there in a crisp blazer was Lila Bennett, except she wasn't Lila, but the head of Sterling Industries. The woman whose tire he'd fixed, whose car trouble cost him his first interview, who'd somehow arranged this moment, said, "Hello, Ethan. Thanks for coming." Her voice held a confidence he'd sensed but not grasped over coffee. Ethan's mind raced, reframing every interaction with the woman he'd known as Lila, realizing she'd been the CO all along, her story a lie. "We need to talk," he said, voice steadier than he felt. Laura's composure held, but a flicker in her eyes hinted at guilt or vulnerability. The interview unfolded with strained courtesy, everyone aware of the unspoken tension. Mark asked routine questions about experience while Ethan answered honestly, despite the growing unease with a woman who deceived him. When Mark asked why he missed the original interview, Ethan locked eyes with Laura, his look part challenge, part accusation. "I stopped to help someone who needed it, someone with a fancy car broken down on a quiet highway, someone who seemed scared and alone. I put their need ahead of my goals." Laura's gaze didn't waver as she asked, "Do you regret that choice?" Ethan replied instantly, "No, I don't regret helping someone, but I've got questions about why they felt the need to lie about who they were." The silence stretched until Karen suggested a break, and Laura dismissed the others for a private talk. "You're right to be angry," Laura said alone, her voice softer, echoing the stranded woman on the highway. "Am I?" Ethan replied, searching her face for the person he'd shared coffee with. "I'm not sure what game this is." Laura walked to the window, her BMW among the lot's cars, a stark contrast to Ethan's SUV. She explained she'd been driving to a meeting about layoffs when her tire blew. "You stopped to help, not knowing who I was, even though it cost you something big. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Your world, where people lie about names and jobs," Ethan said, testing her. Laura took the accusation without softening it, admitting she wanted to see who he was when he thought it didn't matter, to test if his kindness was genuine or calculated. "You're exactly who you seem, which I've forgotten how to be," she said, her honesty catching Ethan off guard, though he still wondered if this job offer was charity or guilt, not his skills. Laura slid a folder across the table, showing technical assessments ranking him in the top 3%, glowing customer references, and Mark Daniels' endorsement, all predating Monday's encounter. "But you could have told me who you were," Ethan said. Laura agreed, admitting she wanted to be seen as a person, not a title, to feel what it was like to be helped without strings. Before Ethan could reply, a commotion interrupted. Karen rushed in, voice tense through a speaker. "Emergency at Plant 3. Major equipment failure on Line 2. Mark's on his way, but it's bad. Production's at risk." Laura closed her eyes, calculating losses, while Ethan stood, already analyzing the failure's description. "What kind of equipment failure?" he asked, moving toward the door, mind in diagnostic mode honed by years of complex fixes. "I need to see it," he said, ignoring Laura's protest that he wasn't employed yet. "If you want to know who I am, let me show you." The 15-minute drive to Plant 3 cut through Columbus's industrial sprawl, Laura's Mercedes gliding past Ethan's usual haunts. Silence between them felt purposeful, the emergency pausing personal tensions for a shared goal. Plant 3 was a labyrinth of machines, its hum disrupted by the silent Line 2, surrounded by frustrated techs and anxious supervisors. Mark greeted them, warning their top engineers had been stumped for 3 hours on a $15 million issue. Ethan circled the main conveyor assembly, his trained eye catching details others missed. "Anyone check the secondary hydraulic filter?" he asked, cutting through jargon with a clarity that was either brilliant or naive, pointing to a panel most overlooked. "It's tucked behind the main reservoir. If it clogs, it causes back pressure, triggering this exact failure." Mark checked records showing all filters replaced recently, but Ethan clarified, "Primary filters, sure, but the secondary's on a different cycle. High production clogs it faster than expected." He shed his jacket, sleeves rolled. "Need a 7/16 wrench, flashlight, and 15 minutes. What followed was 40 minutes of methodical problem-solving, Ethan navigating the hydraulic maze with hands that read machines like texts. Laura watched, struck by his transformation into someone utterly at ease in grease and steel. When he emerged in borrowed coveralls, streaked with fluid, he grinned, "Fire up." The conveyor hummed to life, components syncing perfectly, saving the production schedule. "How'd you know?" Mark asked, staring at the revived machine like it was magic. Ethan shrugged. "Seen it before. Different system, same logic. Sometimes the fix is simple, just hidden where people don't look." Laura approached, her expression blending professional respect and personal recognition. "That was something." Ethan's reply was understated. "Just a Wednesday morning. This is what I do." Her response showed new clarity. "I see that. The question is, do you want to do it here?" Ethan met her gaze, weighing not just the job but everything leading to this moment. "Are you offering because I just saved your $15 million contract?" Laura's answer was firm. "I'm offering because you're what this company needs. Someone who gets that real work happens on the floor, not in spreadsheets. Someone who sees solutions others miss." Mark stepped in decisive. Ethan, I don't know what went down between you two, but you fixed in 40 minutes what our team couldn't in hours. If Laura's offering, take it. Ethan looked at the plant, picturing himself leading teams, building something that mattered. It was everything he'd hoped for, but something lingered with Laura. I need to think about it, he said, honesty cutting through the moment's high. Laura nodded, understanding. Take your time, Ethan clarified, not about the job, about trusting the person offering it. That evening, Ethan sat on his mobile home steps, watching Liam tend their garden. Peppers thriving, zucchini climbing. Simple, honest work. Liam joined him, hands dirty, expression serious. How was the interview, Dad? Complicated, Ethan said. Liam pressed, good or bad complicated. Ethan weighed it, knowing Liam deserved truth. Not sure yet. Sometimes things seem too good to be true, because they are. Sometimes it's because you're not used to good things. Liam's next question was sharp. Which is it? Ethan watched the sunset over their park. Their life built on love and hard-won values. My gut says the best opportunities come dressed as risks, he said, feeling the truth despite the uncertainty. The next morning, a knock interrupted breakfast. Laura stood on the steps, business attire clashing with the modest homes around them. Laura, this is unexpected, Ethan said, stepping outside. She explained needing to see his world, to understand him before asking for his trust. He gestured at the park. Neat yards, practical gardens, well-kept older cars, kids' toys. This is us. Not much, but at home. Laura studied it, seeing beyond the surface. It's real, she said. When Ethan noted it was all a mechanic's salary could manage, she clarified. I mean, it feels honest. Before he could reply, Liam burst out, backpack on, hair half-combed, freezing when he saw Laura. His 10-year-old radar caught the tension. Dad, everything okay? Ethan introduced them carefully. Liam studied Laura with a child's blunt curiosity. Are you the coffee shop lady? Dad said you helped him get another interview. Laura knelt to his level. I'm the lady whose tire your dad fixed. He helped me when I was stuck, even though it meant missing something big. Liam's reply was matter-of-fact. That's just Dad. Helping people's his thing. Mom said it was his superpower. He asked if Laura would give his dad the job. Her composure faltered at his directness. That's up to your dad. But I hope he wants it. Liam was firm. He wants it. He's been practicing interview answers forever. Wants a better life for me, but feels bad leaving Mr. Dawson. Ethan's fond protest didn't hide his pride. Liam hugged him, then Laura, a gesture of pure kindness from a kid raised with love despite hardship. I hope you give Dad the job. He deserves good things. They watched Liam race to the bus, backpack bouncing. Alone, Laura and Ethan faced their unfinished business. He's incredible, Laura said. Ethan's voice held fierce love. He's my everything. He asked why she was really there. Laura's vulnerability broke through her corporate shell. 3 months ago, my mother died. She began, voice heavy with legacy. She built Sterling Industries from a small shop into a $150 million company. But I lost sight of her vision. She explained her mother's belief that a company's strength was its people, not just profits. After her death, the board pushed for cuts that would treat workers as expendable. I was driving to approve those when my tire blew. Then you stopped, putting a stranger's need above your own. You reminded me what my mother built. Ethan saw the bigger picture. So this isn't about guilt or charity, Laura confirmed. It's about saving my mother's company and needing someone to keep me grounded in her values. Ethan searched her face for deception, but found a woman fighting to honor a legacy against profit-driven pressures. When he asked about the board meeting, Laura gave a wry smile. I delayed it, said I needed more data. They weren't thrilled, but I'm steering Sterling toward investing in people, not cutting them. Ethan felt a shift, seeing she was asking him to join something bigger. That's a costly choice, he noted. Laura's conviction was clear. Short-term, yes. But my mother didn't build this by cutting corners or people. She found good folks and let them shine. I think you're one of them, Ethan. And I think you can help me be one too. Ethan looked at his home, their garden, the life he and Liam had built. Then at Laura, vulnerable despite her title. I'll take the job, he said, decision rooted in choice, not need. 2 conditions. Laura agreed instantly to his request for 2 weeks to train a replacement at Dawson's. His second condition, dinner with him and Liam, surprised her. Nothing fancy, but I want Liam to know who I'm working for, and you to know who you're betting on. 2 weeks later, Ethan walked into Sterling Industries as Plant 3's operations supervisor. In a sharp shirt and tie Liam called professional but not stuffy, carrying his mother's toolbox and a briefcase Laura gifted him. The toolbox felt like home, tying him to a lineage of honest work. His first day was a blur of meetings, tours, and paperwork, but also talks with workers who eyed him with cautious hope, a manager who'd done their job. Marshall seemed solid. One worker muttered at lunch, respect hard-earned from someone who'd seen too many bosses. That afternoon, Laura stopped by his office, a glass-walled space overlooking the floor. Ethan had placed his mother's toolbox prominently beside Liam's photo, and a plant Liam insisted would make it homey. Their talk was easy, a partnership forming over weeks. 6 months later, Ethan stood in the same conference room, now celebrating Sterling's largest contract, a 7-year deal securing jobs for hundreds in Ohio. Plant 3 smashed every target for 3 quarters, Laura told the board, voice proud. Quality's up 25%, efficiency 18%, and employee satisfaction's the highest ever. The applause was real, the board learning to value more than profits. In the lot, Laura now drove a modest SUV, a reminder to stay grounded. Regrets? She asked, echoing their past talk. Ethan looked at the plant, where he'd given workers a voice, built something meaningful. Just one, he said, pausing until Laura looked worried. I regret it took a flat tire and a missed interview for us to meet. That evening, Laura arrived at their mobile home with a lemon pie. Their dinner's now a weekly ritual. They sat at the table where Ethan and Liam had shared countless moments, the pie from a local bakery Laura had grown to love. Laura, Liam said over dessert, voice blunt as ever, do you miss being rich? Laura laughed, caught off guard by a question only Liam would ask. Liam. Ethan chided, but Laura answered seriously. I was never rich in what counts. I had money but not friends who cared for me, not work that felt right. Not people like you and your dad showing me what matters. Liam nodded, satisfied. So, friendship's worth more than money. Laura grinned. Pie tastes better shared with people you care about. Later, under a clear Ohio sky, they sat on the steps, stars stretching above their small town. Ethan, what if you hadn't stopped that morning? Laura asked. Ethan traced the alternate path. I think about it, but Mom said regretting kindness is like apologizing for being human. Every time you help someone, you bet the world's worth it. Even if it doesn't pay off as expected, you're ahead because you prove who you are. Laura processed this, her voice soft. Your mom was wise. Ethan nodded. She'd have liked you, seen someone honoring the past while building better for the future. As Laura left, she paused. Ethan, thank you for stopping, trusting, reminding me the best way to honor a legacy is to live it. Ethan's reply was heartfelt. Thank you for letting me build something bigger, for showing Liam work can matter. Her text came later. Thanks for dinner, friendship, proving kindness wins. Ethan replied, thanks for proving those who need help most can help others most. Inside, Liam slept, dreaming of science fairs in college, a future now reachable. Sophie's room held books, applications, and Laura's card, titled Future Innovator. It was better than Ethan had imagined that rainy Tuesday, proof the best opportunities come as risks, and his mother was right, helping people mattered most.